Here's a primer on how decisions get made at Skookum. We use a model of decision making called the advice decision model. And it's fairly unique. Not many people are familiar with it. So it can be an adjustment for folks when they come to work or serve on the board here at Skookum. But most people are familiar with a hierarchical decision model, so I'll use that as a reference point. In a hierarchical decision model, decisions are usually made by the person, the individual person in the organization who is the most experienced at making these kinds of choices. Often, the leader of a particular working group has lots of experience and knowledge about that specific domain, and this kind of structure, a hierarchical decision model, is optimized to reduce mistakes because the most knowledgeable people are making the decisions. However, it creates a bottleneck at that individual's desk. The frontline staff who are carrying out the decisions, like foot soldiers, are sometimes just waiting for a decision to be made. So it's slower, but it is less likely to produce incorrect decisions. An advice decision model is in many ways the opposite of that. In an advice decision model, decisions are made by the individual in the organization who is most affected by the results of the choice. And the person who is most often most affected by the results of the choice is usually not the person with the most experience making those kinds of choices. However, that person, the decider, in fact, everybody in the organization must get input before they make decisions, specifically from two groups of people. One, anybody else who will be affected by the decision, and two, anybody who might have knowledge or experience that could inform that decision. Since decisions are made more broadly across the organization by the people most affected by the results of each choice, it tends to produce decisions more quickly. We don't see these bottlenecks in particular places in the organization. So, it means we make decisions faster. It also means that we're going to make more bad decisions. We just are. If the most experienced people aren't making all the decisions, people are going to make the wrong call. A hierarchical decision model is optimized to reduce mistakes. An advice decision model is optimized to maximize speed and to maximize learning. Now, consulting broadly, getting input from, those two groups of people I mentioned should have an error reduction impact, but not always. There are a few challenges with an advice decision model. For one, sometimes it can be unclear who the decider should be. Multiple people are affected by decisions a lot of the time, and sometimes in practically identical ways. So overcoming that ambiguity really requires strong communication. And second, managers in an organization using a decision model like this one act more like coaches or mentors. They do not and even cannot exercise control over decisions. If they do, we're not using an advised decision model anymore. We've reverted to the more common hierarchical decision model. We do that sometimes. Some decisions have safety-related outcomes, and sometimes we are in a crisis and we can't wait to act the way we would like to. We need to be more decisive than that. And so sometimes we do choose to revert to a hierarchical decision model, but, on most days, we work really hard for managers to stay disciplined about not overriding the choices that really should belong to subordinates who report to them. And that is hard to do. Not everybody can be an effective manager in an advice decision model. It takes a special kind of person to coach someone through a choice and to object openly to it and then refrain from overruling them and allow them to make what you believe is the wrong choice. That a special skill that managers at Skookum have to have. And probably most importantly, using the advice decision model means that we have to get really, really good at giving and receiving high quality feedback. This whole thing falls apart if we can't get the expertise from one part of the organization to another part of the organization where the decision's being made. It means that everybody has to be really good at receiving and giving direct, specific, concrete, extremely high quality feedback. We've got to be good at giving it, and we have to be good at practiced in receiving it. We have to trust our peers. We have to believe that our peers are giving us feedback because they want us to succeed, and they want us to be our best. And we have to want our peers to succeed and to be their best. Without that, basis of trust, that is sort of the foundation of effective feedback giving and reception. The whole thing kind of falls apart. So that's the advice decision model, and we use it here.